Disney parks, where dreams come true. Or do they? What is supposed to be one of the most magical places on Earth can sometimes be the scariest. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and today we are counting down our list of the top 10 dark events that took place at Disney parks. Number 10. Virus outbreak. Now I know what you're thinking, duh, they caught that virus in 2020, but no, I'm talking about a different one. At Disneyland, between December 17th and December 20th, 2014, visitors to the park were exposed to measles, resulting in an outbreak that affected the residents of 8 US states as well as Mexico and Canada. The California Department of Public Health was first notified of a suspected measles case on January 5th, 2015, and by February 11th, 2015, at least 39 individuals who had visited at least one of the two adjacent Disney parks during the exposure period had become ill. In addition to this likely direct exposure, secondary and unknown transmissions were numerous, resulting in at least 125 cases within the United States by February 11th, 2015. The specific outbreak was declared over in the US in mid-April 2015 after 42 days with no traceable transmissions and 147 having been affected within the United States. This measles outbreak, though, resulted in no known deaths. Number 9. Ashes spread. There's a very popular urban legend that Disney World is full of scattered human remains. World is full of scattered human ashes, particularly in certain parts of the park such as the Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and It's a Small World. It's been proven that guests frequently release human ashes within the Disney parks, and Disney understands that this could be a cathartic process for those grieving, but it's important to realize that this violates Disney's rules and also local laws about scattering remains. Disney has specifically spoken out, telling the Wall Street Journal that this type of behavior is strictly prohibited and unlawful. Not only is this against the park policy, but any guests spreading ashes will be escorted off the property. This is taken very seriously and is referred to by cast members as a HEPA cleanup incident, since it requires a special cleaning protocol to remove the ash residue. When guests do succeed in scattering ashes on attractions, there are a lot of repercussions. Not only could they be banned from future entry, but it's also disruptive to others enjoying the park. These attractions and areas need to be shut down for technical difficulties, and it delays other people's experiences. It's said that this happens at least once a month. Number 8. Leaving a guest paralyzed. In 1983, James Higgins, who was 18 at the time, fell off Space Mountain at Disneyland and was paralyzed from the waist down, and he suffered from brain damage. He tumbled out of a speeding car and was found unconscious under the tracks of Space Mountain. He tried suing Disney and asked for more than $7 million in damages and compensation. His attorneys claimed that the restraining lap bar used on the high-speed roller coaster type ride at the time of the incident was improperly designed and could have allowed a rider to remove it. During the trial, the jury was taken to the park to ride Space Mountain, and several of the ride's cars were brought into the courtroom to demonstrate their use. A physicist called by Disneyland attorneys said that the lap bar appeared to be defective, but added that gravity probably would have kept the rider from falling out if he followed park instructions. Park attorneys said that James was intoxicated at the time of the incident and trying to show off for friends when he tumbled off the ride. In the end, the jury found Disneyland was not liable for his injuries. Number 7. Harassment of workers. It seems like wherever you work in the customer service industry, you are bound to deal with customers who go too far. Unfortunately, Disney is no exception, and it happens more particularly to female employees who are dressed up as face characters, like those who walk around dressed as a Disney princess. A lot of them have experienced harassment, and an ex-Disney park employee wrote on Reddit about her experience. She said, "I was a Tinkerbell performer for Walt Disney World about 3 years ago, and I can't count how many times people asked me what was under my dress or tried to touch me inappropriately. I would always shame them to my photo pass attendant, their family, and people in line by loudly exclaiming, 'You want to know what's under my dress? Well, there's pixie dust, of course.' Or, 'This man is a pirate. He's trying to reach the pixie dust that I keep under under my dress. And then they'd walk away in shame like the creepy people they are. Now, since face characters are never allowed to break character, there isn't much they can do about the harassment, which is pretty scary. Number 6. People taking their own lives. With a place like Disney, it's shocking that there are so many people who go there to end their life. Unfortunately, this has happened many times over the years. The main place for this is at Disneyland in California and is at the Mickey and Friends parking structure. The first account happened in 2010 when a 61-year-old man jumped from the top floor of the parking structure. He left behind a note explaining his personal issues were the reason why he did that. In 2012, a 23-year-old man was found near the northwest corner of the parking structure and was pronounced dead at the scene. It was investigated as if the man had taken his own life at the time, but there were no witnesses. In 2016, a 40-year-old man jumped from the parking structure just after 2 a.m. He was rushed to UC Irvine Medical Center and pronounced dead at 3:08 a.m. And now the most recent death took place in December of 2022, where a 51-year-old elementary school principal jumped from the top floor and was pronounced dead at the scene. These stories are all so sad, and if you ever get these feelings, please know that there are people and resources to help you. Number 5. Fell out of a ride. In September 2000, a guest fell out of the Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin ride in Disneyland and suffered serious internal injuries, cardiac arrest, and brain damage after being dragged underneath the car. The speculated reason for this was a malfunction with the lap bar. It was said by witnesses that the bar on the cart to strap the rider in did not lock in any position, there were no safety straps, and the bar did not go over the rider's lap. Now, according to investigators with Cal/OSHA, the state safety agency, the lap bars in the ride's cars are raised and lowered manually by the Disneyland ride operator and worked independently of each other. Disney said park officials believe that their employees followed all the park procedures, including those for lap bars. The police and the Disney president said that there was no malfunction with the ride to cause this. The guests lived, but there was a serious delay between the time of the incident and when medical emergency personnel were contacted, leading Disney to review and change their policies. Unfortunately, it was too late. The guests lived for 9 more years with the consequences of that fateful ride until they passed away in January 2009. Number 4. Drownings. In June 1973 and in June 1983, guests drowned in the River of America's attraction in Disneyland, both after violating the rules. The first incident involves 2 brothers who stayed in the park after closing. They stayed on Tom Sawyer's Island past closing time by hiding in an area that is off-limit to guests. When they wanted to leave the island, they tried to swim across the river, though one of them didn't know how to swim. The older brother attempted to carry his brother on his back and drowned halfway across. His body was found the next morning, while the younger brother was able to stay afloat by dog paddling until a ride operator rescued him. The second incident involved a man drowning by trying to pilot a rubber emergency boat from Tom Sawyer's Island, which he and a friend had stolen from a restricted area of the island during Disneyland's annual grad night. The boat capsized and he drowned. Both individuals were intoxicated at the time of the incident, and the victim's mother sued Disneyland for allowing her inebriated son onto the premises, but the lawsuit was unsuccessful. Number 3. Hit by another car. In 1984, 48-year-old Dolly Young was riding the Matterhorn bobsled in Disneyland when her seatbelt was unfastened. She fell out and plummeted to the track below, only to be hit by another car and get dragged along the rails before the ride was stopped. Due to this, she got decapitated. She was pronounced dead at the scene due to her massive head and chest injuries. Afterwards, an investigation found that her seatbelt was not buckled. It's unclear whether she deliberately unfastened her belt or if the seatbelt had malfunctioned. Since then, the section where she was struck on the Tomorrowland side of the mountain has been known as Dolly's Dip, and park employees claim that she still haunts the ride. Former ride operator named Kristen, who worked at the park from 1989 to 1995, claimed that she could feel a supernatural presence while operating the Matterhorn, and that other staffers told her they had seen a ghost while on the job. She said, "I worked that ride for several years and I never saw her, but I sure did feel her." Number 2. Being crushed. In 1974, an employee named Debbie Stone was crushed to death between a rotating wall and a permanent theater wall in the America Sings attraction in Disneyland. At around 10:30 p.m., when the last show got over and the stages were shifting positions in between the 45-second interval, a guest from the adjacent theater heard a blood-chilling scream. When he and the operators rushed to the scene, they were horrified to see Debbie Stone crushed between the walls of the 2 theaters. To this day, no one knows exactly exactly what went wrong, but there have been numerous theories. Some state that Debbie may have been inclining towards the adjacent stage to talk to a fellow cast member, or she may have attempted to jump from one stage to the other, or she may have been distracted and stepped backwards without noticing. Either way, this death was just tragic. And coming in at number 1 is not caring for disabled guests. Disney is supposed to be a fun place that includes everyone no matter their differences, but it seems like the park didn't take their disabled guests into consideration. In 2009, the ride It's a Small World Holiday in Disneyland broke down while the other guests were evacuated off the ride, while this guest was not, as he was in a wheelchair. The guest was stuck in the ride's goodbye room, the final setting of It's a Small World Holiday, for 30 to 40 minutes before being evacuated. In addition to being wheelchair bound, he also suffered from panic attacks and high blood pressure, and these things were aggravated by the blaring Christmas carols due to them being unable to exit the ride. Rather than calling firefighters to evacuate the guests, Disneyland staffers waited for the ride to be fixed. When the guest was finally able to lead the ride, it took 3 hours to medically stabilize them at a Disneyland first aid station once they were rescued. The guests sued Disney for its inadequate evacuation procedures for disabled guests and for not providing proper warnings for those who could not evacuate during a ride stoppage. In March 2013, a jury awarded the man $8,000 and the safety key was introduced. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 dark events that took place at Disney parks. Hearing these definitely made me question Disney's all-around happy atmosphere. Have you ever had a bad experience at Disney? Comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe while you're down there. I'm your host Emily, and I'll see you next time. Broke down while a guest with quadriplegia was on the ride.